made it to episode 2 of The Road. You see the friendly faces there if you're watching on video. Mel from the Powerbombshells. This is our second show of the day. How was your show with Sam this morning?
It was great. It was our 50th episode.
That's crazy.
I know. Can you believe it? We made it 50 episodes. We're almost at our year anniversary on the network. We're going to do all kinds of fun stuff. We had a good day. We talked a lot about I had a little bone to pick of my own with the road shows, and we finally got through a show without having to say that well, I'll have to say his name today, I'm sure, at some point, without having to say Vince's name for an entire show. So it was awesome.
I'm looking through my notes. I don't think I have his name here once.
Excellent.
So maybe it'll come up. It may come up.
I'll say it just for the reaction.
and Jeff Hawkins here from the Dynamite Show and all the other stuff that you do. What's going on, man?
Hey, looking forward to this. Almost a WWE-centric show, which is nice. A nice change of pace.
I like it because it is it's almost like what people don't want to do these days, because WWE's so much the focus of stuff. You have a lot of brands going like, we gotta talk AEW, we're gonna talk New Japan. It's like, let's bring it back to WWE, especially around WrestleMania time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I like. Jeff and I were talking about our sorrows from last week. Both of our teams lost in the championship games, or else if they didn't, we would have been against each other next week, but didn't happen.
I'm only marginally sorry for one of you. I'm really sorry, Garrett. I won't feel bad, but my NFC West, my inner Seahawk.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Football is like that.
It's like wrestling.
Jeff has been through it a lot of times. I can't say that I have as much, because the Niners have won Super Bowls, but it doesn't hurt any less when you're right on the cusp and you're ready to go. So, okay. So what are we going to do? We're going to talk about the Road to WrestleMania here. We're going to talk a lot about Elimination Chamber as well, based on what they have set up. But I wanted to get both of your reactions, because basically from the end of WrestleMania last year, the story for this year was that, they're going to do Rock and Roman. They saved LA. It's going to happen. This is what Rock wants. And as we got about halfway, there was turbulence. The XFL is here. And so from everything that we know, unless there is some hidden story, and Jeff may know about that more than me and Mel, but
definitely.
Jeff, you're gonna, your town, LA, no Rock. Does that make WrestleMania any less special to you?
Well, it's not that special, anyways, to me. But because I wasn't raised a WWF fan. But no, to me, no. To me, it's more of an opportunity, because I am always of the opinion that these special guest stars have done nothing but ended up killing modern talent and things like that. I've never really liked the member berries aspects of WrestleMania for the most part. I am a fan of being respectful to legends and things like that, but I am not a fan of sacrificing current stars to legends.
But what about the publicity aspect of it? Because I could see from a certain perspective, but The Rock is at like a giant level to where him just being involved, all of a sudden you get more eyeballs on the product.
Yes. And yeah, that's, we're going to talk about this a lot. It is what's best for the story versus what's best for business.
Yes.
And while The Rock was going to be a major part of this, I don't understand how you don't get this in writing somehow. How you're working this on a handshake deal.
Thank you.
And like, it's like, hey, we've been planning this story for 2 years. You gonna be right? Well, I don't know. I got this second-rate football league I gotta run right now. And I gotta be in like the sixth sequel to this franchise,
this Netflix
or whatever
show. We're recording the Christmas version of this movie.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I'm just like, how do you not? I mean, number one, I don't know if he who shall not be named and Rock were on a handshake deal versus Triple H and The Rock.
That's what I was about to say. He who should not be named, because Mel said it before we even started.
I'm trying not to.
We're not going to use that name today, so we're not going to use that name.
BK DeMort.
But you've had two 2.5 years where they said, hey, they give him the heads up. Oh, you know what? I don't have time to get in shape with all my commit. He big timed them is what he did.
It does feel that way, right? It either feels that he big timed them or that
he gave them the LA no. He said, I'll try to make it.
Okay, right. Or
mentioned that once. I think that's brilliant.
Or there was a conversation on the lead up to this about how, more than likely I may not be able to have the match because of so
yeah, and that's fine.
And that's fine. If he is involved in some way, I think it just makes fans think that he's going to wrestle. So that may even be a problem of him just being involved, because he shows up and all of a sudden the rumors for next year, 40th WrestleMania, Rock is going to wrestle. And then who knows if he could do it at that point. Like, the thing about him, and I think this is actually an interesting conversation, probably not for this podcast, but Jeff, you're so close to stuff around this, but his career these last couple years have not been fantastic. He's taken some swings and he has missed, Black Adam being the biggest one, I think. And then coming out of that whole DC universe, he tried to power play a little bit and lost the power play. And he's probably persona non grata when it comes to that franchise right now.
Garrett, I'm gonna want conversation already.
Garrett, I'm gonna one up you. I'm gonna say that most of Rock's image as a movie star is mostly from The Rock and his team, because if he is not attached to a piece of already existing IP, he's usually the second guy on the movie poster, and that's when the movie's a hit. His drawing power, I mean, his choice in projects has been terrible for a long time. Be it Skyscraper, be it his Disney films, which made a boatload, but they weren't star-making performances necessarily.
It definitely seemed like the goal was to make a movie so that you could make a franchise.
Yes.
And he would make these movies and they would make money, but there was no real interest in then creating a second and a third and a fourth movie. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. Dave Bautista actually came out and said this, which is because of his look, because of his size, he's kind of so typecasted into what he does. He's trying to change that. And it seems like Rock was just like, at some point he was like, okay, I tried to do a little bit avant-garde stuff. It didn't work. I'm just going to go into the stereotype and lean into it harder than anybody.
Well, I mean, and Dave Bautista, had that, what's the Uber one where he was an Uber driver who became like, he was like driving around a spy or something like that.
Yes,
he's had some. I mean, the thing about being typecast, though, I mean, that's the thing is it's always the battle when you want to be a star and you want to be a leading man, and I got to show range and stuff like that, as opposed to just being a character actor who's like, hey, we need a big, soft-spoken guy for this role. Let's get Dave Bautista, and then you work forever. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson has worked forever playing Samuel L. Jackson in most movies, and he's made a great career of it. But there's that itch. I got to be the main eventer here or whatever.
Yeah.
And, he's not unfairly typecast, to be honest with you. But he wants to be the soft-spoken guy with range. And you're just like, do people want to see that out of Dave Bautista? Or do people just want to see Dave Bautista like punch a dude and knock his head off?
I thought he was fun in what's the Knives Out sequel?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, he has range. I'm not saying he doesn't have range, because he was great in Blade Runner. The Blade Runner sequel, he was fantastic in. It's just one of those things.
He's all right in Dune. I mean, he he's fine. He can hold his own in those like roles. He'll probably be more fun in the second one because of what his role is.
When he came out and says, I want to star in a rom-com, I went, no. I killed Gerard Butler's career. What are you doing?
And if he killed his career looking the way he does, then there's no
see, but here's
okay,
Dave
and
Bautista,
his background
right?
is being a
Stuber
lawyer,
was the name of the movie I was thinking of.
Stuber,
Okay.
Here's the Dave Bautista thing, though, is he thinks that Hollywood is the WWE locker room from 2005. So he sees himself as the leading man with all of these like women who are 20 years younger than him, and he thinks he's the leading man of that locker room. Okay, Mel. Same question, but also we learned no Steve Austin either. And Austin came back last year to great fanfare. I thought it was a fantastic moment. My 20-year-old self was like super excited again. But no Rock, no Austin. Does that take away anything from the WrestleMania brand for you?
Not for me, because I sit somewhere in the vicinity of where Jeff does, is that I don't need the Attitude Era. I lived it. I was lucky enough to be old enough to have actually really enjoyed it and been able to, like, drive my own car and sit in my own dorm room and do the thing and really enjoy those things. So, I mean, for me, it was like I live that stuff. And I do find sometimes that they don't treat the stars well. And I would want Austin to come back on his own terms. So if he doesn't feel like he wants to come back on his own terms again, like, I mean, last year was great and everyone was excited and is happy to see him, but also it was a struggle and it was half cringy. It was half fun and half cringy because of some of the like other stuff that went on around it.
You didn't like seeing him in slow motion.
Yeah. I felt the same way even at the Rumble with Booker T, where it was like, I get what you're doing, but like that spinneroonie really kind of broke my heart a little bit on like deep down. And I was like, stop, just gotta stop. Like it. So for me, it was like, I never expected The Rock was going to be in there in the first place. I was always in the camp of there's no way The Rock is showing up to LA. I don't care what anyone says. Like, I just didn't feel it. It never felt permanent. And then Austin was like, and I mean, frankly, well, he knows he's your second choice. So why should he get in any better shape to be your second choice? Like, he knows he's your second choice because we all know he's your second choice.
That was always
that for a year.
Yeah, no. That's a fantastic point, because I wondered if Austin was going to play second fiddle.
Yeah.
And if Rock was going to be involved, was Austin going to be involved? And then when Rock was not going to be involved, Austin is very careful with his stuff. Like, we heard about the Brock Lesnar match that got turned down. That sounds like a dangerous match to me.
That sounds like the smartest movies ever made in wrestling.
Right. But at the same time, is it also sort of like a little bit of an ego hit there? Like, oh, I get it. Like, The Rock is going to be there. Then if he's there, why do I need to be there? I see that sort of thing as well. I always have this thing that people make fun of me about, which is WrestleMania 19, when they had the third match. And right around this time, Rock turns heel and he starts wearing the leather vest. And I was telling people, like, that's a shot at Austin. Like, that's part of the thing. That's a shot at Austin. They're like, he's just wearing a stupid vest. I was like, no, there's a competition there. These guys are they're egos and everything. But yeah, I mean, that's a real thing. I would love you give either of those guys some truth serum, not The Rock today, where he puts everybody over who he ever worked with in the history of professional wrestling, but real truth serum to go back to 1999, and Austin sees Rock coming, and Austin gets hurt, and he knows Triple H and Rock are immediately going to be to the ascent, and like just like that whole struggle, like what then Austin gets back in 2001, and he's the guy again, like that whole thing. That's what's fascinating to me about the wrestling business.
Well, Rock did the smart thing. He did what people on Saturday Night Live do: is you attach yourself to a writer, and you have them write your material and stuff like that. And Austin, to my knowledge, never attached himself to a writer to help plug stories and stuff like that. So he was always at a little bit of that disadvantage there.
He was usually leveraging like his talent and his popularity more than he was leveraging like politics inside the company. It seems like, from like just the stuff that I've read of other people's accounts.
Right. Oh, but also his relationship with Vince. We said we weren't going to say that name. His relationship with he who shall not be named. that was also Austin's kind of the thing in his back pocket, was just he had that relationship, and like every big star has that relationship with that dude. Okay, Brock Lesnar. We now understand that he is going to be in at both Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania. So one of those has got to be with Bobby Lashley. Mel, who's the second match? Are they going to do two matches with Lashley, or is there going to be another person who Brock wrestles, whether it be WrestleMania or Elimination Chamber?
Now, I think that we kind of talked a little bit earlier, but I felt like Gunther was like somebody that was actually in the mix for some, like when you were like asking us questions about who we might think about, I was just like, if I was just like going pick them right now, because they kind of, one of the things that I don't think anyone noticed, and it was kind of subtle because people were whatever expectations they had at Royal Rumble, I felt like Cody was kind of putting Gunther over. Like he was kind of drawing out that win a little bit, and he was trying to do a little bit what worked with him. It wasn't like some huge thing, but he didn't just like come in there and squash him. He actually came in there and like put up a bit of a fight. So I was like, okay, maybe they're setting him up for something else. And then I was like, oh, well, that makes sense to me, because there's two kind of big guys, and I mean, Gunther can kind of carry the match, and then Brock can F5 him and win and get his $5 million, and we can all go on with our lives.
So, I mean, I like they obviously teed it up a little bit, right? You know what the worry is for me is that I think Gunther works tremendously in a specific kind of match that they let him do on SmackDown. I don't know that that's Brock Lesnar's match, though. Yeah. What do you think, Jeff?
I don't, but I also can see the visual of they protect Gunther by having Imperium taking all these suplexes and F5s from Brock during that match, and eventually, hopefully, Gunther gets the win over Brock. I don't see that happening necessarily, but I would hope that would happen. I just think we've seen everything to see about Brock and Bobby Lashley. There's no, they never do any real subtext to it. It's always just kind of, the veiled MMA stuff in there. They don't, again, one of my major problems with modern WWE right now is, and it's odd because they're telling the best story in wrestling right now, but their storytelling otherwise, unless you're the top act, is half-assed and shoddy in a lot of ways. And it's like, sure, Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar could be a great feud building up heat to then get to the match, but it's just like, well, nope, we got to do Elimination Chamber, and then nope, we got a month until WrestleMania, we can build it right now, blah 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 blah, and then it gets rushed, and then you have like, is the Hurt Business reuniting or not reuniting every single damn week on WWE? And I just think that moment has passed too. I mean, it's one of those lost opportunities, I think, because I thought that stable really had some legs if they really wanted to do something with it, especially, old man Shelton Benjamin, who, I think is that. I still want to see the Minnesota Stretching Crew on a tag team run before they both retire.
Yeah, I mean, because they have that relationship that you can play into for sure.
So much.
Yeah,
I wish that he had his.
I think the new and interesting is kind of babyface Brock, who is always a little off on the casting with Brock Lesnar as a babyface. But against Gunther, the Ring General, who's like, this is sacred. And Brock, you are a hillbilly cowboy from Saskatchewan or whatever type of a thing. And there's a part of me where it's like, I also think Brock would be really into taking a little bit of offense from a guy bigger than him just for that visual. And as he gets older, he's not going to be able to do it as much anymore. And this is one of those last times where it's like, and Gunther's very safe. And he's, it's not like going up against Omos, who would just, you never know. You're 50-50 once you're in the air, but Gunther would take care of him. So I am, and of course, because it's new, I am far more fascinated in Gunther and Brock.
Would you do that one at WrestleMania and do the other one at Elimination Chamber?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, the Lashley seems like more of a throwaway, which, I mean, seems like more of an Elimination Chamber. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I completely didn't realize when I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And I didn't realize, I forgot that Elimination Chamber was tucked in between all of these events, and went, oh crap, what did I do? So watching Elimination Chamber next week, I was like, oh crap, I'm going to have to book all these things. And it was like, but it is a good place for sort of those matches, I feel like. And that's where I'm with Jeff 100% on that. Like Lashley at Elimination Chamber, the other at Mania, because it could be more fun all the way around.
So let's talk about what Jeff was alluding to here, which is the main event of WrestleMania is Cody and Roman. They have a graphic for it. But we still have another match at Elimination Chamber, which they announced, Roman versus Sammy. And there was the angle on SmackDown where Sammy came out, jumped Roman, then got beat up, and then, still was standing at the end. And my problem, I mentioned this on Wrestling Observer Radio last night. We talked about it in the Slack. My main problem, I don't need Sammy to win this match. I just need them to not tell me that he's going to lose. Like, I want to think as a fan that he's got a chance to beat Roman, because the story of the last 2.5 years of Roman has been pretty much the same. Like, set him up, he's going to knock him down. The match may be good. It may be sort of by the book. The Kevin Owens match, that was all angle. The match was okay, but it was really about the angle. And I just think you have an opportunity to take advantage of something with Sammy. And I would have loved to see Sammy come out in week 1 after the Royal Rumble and just run Roman out of the ring, and just Roman just being like, okay, this guy's a little bit different than I thought. But unless I'm just reading into this because I think this is going to happen, because this is what often happens, it just seemed like that storyline was there to say, hey, let's put a pause on this Sammy thing. It's still about Roman and less about Sammy. What do you think about that, Jeff?
They made the emotional pivot, Jay, last week.
Mm-hmm.
I am flabbergasted by the number of people who think they should call an audible and belt Sammy. And these are mostly fans of other wrestling. Yeah. And I get that.
Yeah.
But WWE has never told that story. WWE can't tell the story of the kick-ass underdog. And the former guy who's supposedly not involved in creative anymore never wanted to tell that story because look at him. Do you think he could kick somebody's ass? No, that's what they said with Daniel Bryan, of all people. It looks like more of the same in terms of the optics of the new regime in many ways. The time to call the audible was Drew at Clash at the Castle. That was the time to call the audible. This one, it's the difference between having a great story and what's best for business. And I just don't see WWE business expanding with the champion Sami Zayn. Now, that's not to say I don't like Sami Zayn. That's not to say I don't think he's one of the best wrestlers. And that's not to say he's not killing it in this story, because this is, to me, one of the best stories WWE has told in at least 15 years for the most part. That said, WWE audiences are what they are. They are told who's stars. They are told that big guys, with muscles and good looking and leading men, and the ones that have come out of central casting are the champion types. They would be way ahead of this story if you belted Sammy, because they'd be going, okay, who are you going to give the belt to take it off of him? They'd know transitional champion. And I don't think you can tell the story. Don't get me wrong. You can tell the story of Sammy being the ass kicker who comes out and Roman's now afraid of him, but you have to tell it. And they just don't want to tell it. Yep. And you can tell that. And I agree with you 100%. If I were, running a company, I'd probably belt Sammy for a while here, because look, we don't like, we say we like underdogs in America, but we don't in many ways. Like, we love the first round upsets.
Yeah.
But if the team that gets in the NCAA tournament with the 14-16 record made it to the finals and won, we'd be going, well, it's kind of a waste of a season because this fluky team went on a run at the end. It'd be a great story and be a footnote, say, versus we like the Dukes, we like the North Carolinas.
But didn't Villanova 1985? How long did they live off of that?
But how much was college basketball expanded by that win versus, say, the runs that Carolina and Duke went on? Afterwards.
Yeah, sure. But when you sell a tournament on the idea that anybody can win.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
That's your example,
right?
But
okay, let me use another. Okay, so let's say the Carolina Panthers had snuck in with the losing record as the winners of the NFC South and went to the Super Bowl and won. We'd just kind of be going, all right, that was a nice story. It was fluky, but it was overall bad for football.
Yeah, they'd say, oh, that's
everyone
what happens
would be whinging, and especially people who, especially with the expanded betting situation, and people, especially the Vegas people, that is not the story that they want at the betting tables.
That long-winded diatribe to say, Garrett, you were exactly correct. They could tell this story, but they're terrible at it, and they won't tell this story.
I agree with you, and that's why I think I was so flustered, is because you don't have to belt Sammy. You just have to make it seem like he's got a shot.
Yes, you have to give the illusion of championship heft with him, and instead they he's a maniac, he's out of control. No, have him be in full control. The more interesting choice would be Sammy has now seen the light, and now Sammy needs to know what he has to do. Much like the more interesting choice would have been Sammy taking over the bloodline and taking it away from Roman. But they didn't do that story either, because, it's all about, because this is all about Roman's journey to being a babyface again, really, in some ways.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, and it absolutely is 100%.
But now the emotional heft is with, well, what's Jay going to do? Because everybody was chanting for Jay, and it's like, we know what Jay's going to do.
Yeah, and Jay's going to, he's going to do what he does. So they set up that tag match more than likely. Mm-hmm. But I guess
it's mostly because he can't go to Montreal, so they need him to be MIA. I mean, is there a whole issue with that?
Yeah, there's a good point.
It's definitely.
They could have disappeared Jay as part of the storyline simply because they know for sure that he can't make a show that's coming up.
Okay, except that angle doesn't work unless he interferes in Montreal, right?
I guess
they can draw that out.
Yeah, they could do it on the.
So it could be the Freebird rules with Solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's maybe what'll happen on SmackDown.
I think Sam may have mentioned something like that too.
Or they both end up. I mean, Jay doesn't take part in the beatdown. He takes part in the aftermath on the following SmackDown.
Yeah.
And then that starts the ball rolling.
Yeah. Okay, so a wrestling person, someone in the industry, said, what if they actually had Sammy beat Roman at Elimination Chamber, and then as they're setting up Sammy versus Cody, Roman requests his rematch and he beats Sammy on night one? I think that's a little bit too convoluted. Yeah. Sammy would get his moment. And the fan base who has been involved in this storyline for the longest would get a payoff, but then you're gonna have Roman lose, win, and then lose again to Cody, which I don't know if I like that story as much. I like Roman going in there strong, beating Cody. I just want them to tell the story that Sammy could win, has a great chance to win, is a smart wrestler. Maybe this was part of his calculus the whole time. He was outsmarting those guys. He was getting close to his enemy. But I just don't sense. I sense from the TV on Friday, they're just saying, nope, he's just another hurdle for Roman. He's the second guy.
What if they did a dusty finish, and they took one of the belts away? Yeah.
I was actually thinking about that because of the first 2-night WrestleMania, Wrestle Kingdom, Wrestle Kingdom, where they did the thing with the funny belt thing, and then they ultimately ended up unifying the belts, which I think has even been this would be like a reverse unification, like a de-unification, right? In this case,
I don't like dusty finishes per se, but it's one of those things where it's like it feels like
WWE.
It feels like they're gonna give Montreal that moment and just tell them to F off.
Yeah, take it away.
Yeah,
we're never coming back.
Yeah, remember what we did to Brett?
Just a big old reminder.
Can you imagine if Roman puts the sharpshooter on in that match?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, so the dusty finish is interesting. I just hope they don't ever do it in a Cody match, because Cody will never hear the end of it.
They're going to do either that or the Mankind finish. Where it's just they throw him and then eventually they just take the belt away from him like a week later or 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir. You can't have this. You're too crazy.
Well, I mean, it's like this is your this is you get your token of appreciation or something.
You could put it in Montreal and they could bring up some obscure
you did such
role
a great job in the story.
He wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
He's like, we actually can't recognize this because it was won in the country of Canada.
Yeah, it feels like
not
Adam
in
Pearce is going to be involved in this somehow. Let me holler at you, player. We're going to have a tag team match.
This is way off tangent, but I had to get this in because you both were on here. Did you guys watch the Elvis movie?
I have not gotten
I haven't
either.
either.
I keep looking at even Sam actually beat me to it, and usually I have seen.
I have a pile of screeners I need to watch, Garrett.
Yes, right.
I imagine so.
So it's okay, but I bet
Tom
it'll
Hanks,
still work.
Tom Hanks plays Colonel Parker.
Right.
That's right. He plays Colonel Parker as if his idea for the character was based off of Paul Heyman as the wise man.
Okay.
Huh.
No, I can see that.
I'm into it already.
Paul Heyman meets Rob Parker. That's
if yeah, right. If either of you see that, and let me know, because LaRocca thought the same thing, but then I've had other people tell me that they didn't really see it when they watched it. So I don't know. I just from the first scene that he's in, I was like, that's Paul Heyman. But
I mean, he was the ultimate carny. So.
Yeah, that's why. Just the one who's just charming you to lie to you kind of thing is
maybe Paul Heyman looks more like him. Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, because the Colonel Parker was, bald, overweight dude, right? Okay, so one of the things that happened on Raw was that Rhea Ripley called her shot, and she wants a piece of Charlotte, which was a little surprising to me. I thought they were possibly going to go a Bianca route, or even maybe not a Becky route at this point, but the Charlotte match kind of it didn't surprise me. I just don't like this Charlotte character at all. This babyface version of her that is so fake, and the smiling and all that. It's such a bad character for her. I'm sure Triple H is going to tell us that, oh, remember when I told you that we were going to have the story that there's going to be a payoff to Rhea and Charlotte from 3 years ago? Well, here it is.
Long-term storytelling.
Yeah.
Tony Khan School of Booking.
Right.
Right.
So, but what did you think of Rhea and Charlotte? Did you, and Mel, you can go first. Would you rather have seen Rhea and Bianca, or is it just that, the two young wrestlers, you don't want to see either of them lose? Like, what was your thought process with where Rhea was going to go?
I would much rather have seen Bianca, but the WWE cynic in me that has made me largely unfan from WWE at the current is the number of times they go to the Charlotte well. So when she came back a few weeks ago, I was like, oh, well, there's the one of the main events at WrestleMania. And it's part of that is like WrestleMania 35 kicking in, because they did the same basic thing where they kind of like shoehorned her into that first women's. It was like the first women's main event, and there were all these things, and Becky had built all this momentum despite everything that was going on. And they were like, yeah, we got to squeeze Charlotte in there, though. And so when she came back, and while I enjoyed her when she first came back and that beatdown, which I enjoyed it a great deal, it was quick and fun. I also had an immediate reaction where I was like, they're going to put her in the main event at WrestleMania or something. Like I thought she was going to win. She was my pick for the women's Rumble. I thought they were just going to go straight to her on the Rumble and just
who do you want
Rhea.
To face at WrestleMania? I choose myself.
I'm going to fight me. I mean, Rhea and Charlotte make sense because of that 3 years ago storytelling thing and everything.
Yeah.
But just like Jeff, I'm all about like seeing new things. And I think Bianca has earned a chance to potentially be, but I'm not surprised at all. It did not shock me at all. It was like, why is everyone so surprised? I was like reading Twitter anger going, really? I must just be cynical.
So Jeff, I was talking to Dave last night, and he said he thought the original plan was Charlotte Becky, and that they pivoted from that recently. What did you hear about what Charlotte was going to do?
The original plan was going to be Becky and Rhea and Bianca and Charlotte.
A 4-way.
No. Just those two separate matches.
Each night. Gotcha.
Yeah, my reaction is the same as yours, Garrett. Though I'm like, who's the baby face in that feud?
Yeah.
Are we gonna turn Rhea to get Charlotte to be a heel? Because Charlotte has never really worked from underneath with anybody. Even when she was a baby face, even if she was a poor baby face at that, they never brought in anybody like a Madison Eagles to come, who had the size that it's going to be interesting. I'm fascinated to see Charlotte sell for Rhea. I really am. I think that's going to be amazing in some ways, because I don't know if she has it in her at this point, because she has been, as Mel says, protected from on high. My other questions were, where do you put Becky? Because she is a star and you're not putting her in a main event in any way on this card. And then there's the fanboy part of me that was like, well, where's Bailey's flowers?
Yep.
Because she's the only horsewoman who hasn't had a main event match at Mania. She was made a host when she carried the company. Her Sasha and Asuka carried that company during the pandemic. They were the only interesting things on that damn show.
Yep.
And they didn't reward her at all. And you know what? I know that she's a good sport about everything, and she's making buku bucks, and the powers that be love her and trust her and all that other stuff. There's a part of me that goes, hey, what about me? Kind of thing. I still think Becky is that last entrant in this Elimination Chamber in some ways, and it's not going to be Asuka, even though we all think it's going to be Asuka and Bianca in some ways.
So I think
they might be running that one back.
I mean that is not a bad idea, because, like you said, and this was in my notes as well, is what the hell are we doing with Becky here? So originally,
and I love Asuka. I think Asuka would be a great
it's a great match
for Bianca
for sure.
Oh yeah, but
for sure. Now, if we even want to go back to when Ronda came back last year to win the Rumble.
That happened.
And it was like Dave and I, like the story was changing like each week. It's like, okay, are they going to Ronda Becky? That sounds like WrestleMania. And Dave, next week we had to come back. Nope, it's going to be Ronda Charlotte. They're trying to set up Ronda Becky for the following year at WrestleMania. Yep. And here we are, the following year at WrestleMania, and Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler are going for the tag team titles, is what the rumor is. I mean, Dave flat out said that that's the plan as of now in the Observer, is that they're going for the tag titles at WrestleMania. So from Ronda Becky to Ronda and Shayna going for the tag straps, and now Becky with no real clear path. It's kind of weird that unless, like what you say, that she's going to be in the chamber, and then it kind of makes sense. We run that match back again. I don't see the upside of both of them being baby faces. I don't think it'll be quite as good, just the build to it. But then again, we have the same thing with Rhea and Charlotte. Just funky baby face mode, and Rhea is the heel who's cheered by a lot of people because they want to see her continue to go up the ladder. But yeah, so it's kind of weird, the booking of the women's titles right now.
Again, Ronda, possibly the most miscast superstar ever, because she just oozes. I want to hate her so much.
Yeah,
she has anti-charisma. It's odd though, but you could have protected her. You could have protected her for this Becky match and to do the belt unification, which was the original plan, I believe. To give it to Becky so that Becky could have this massive run, even though I don't think she needs it. I mean, I don't like the man character at all. I'll say that up front. I love Becky. I hate the man character, but she's fine without both belts. She's a star. She gets a giant pop every time out there. I mean, this has to be viewed as a demotion in some ways, doesn't it? I mean, no offense to Io and Dakota, who are both phenomenal. But the women's tag belts have not been protected, have not been anything to sneeze at, so to speak. They've kind of been a means to an end to get this struggling faction over, even though the booking could have solved so many problems with that. If they had just run roughshod and then solved it in the War Games, we wouldn't be in this position right now. I just Ronda, putting her on week after week after week was the law of diminishing returns, quite frankly. I mean, it's like she can't cut promos real well. She has bad emphasis on words. She puts emphasis on words that shouldn't have emphasis, but she's memorized the lines, and then she's trying to catch up with the emotion.
It's like bad Shakespeare.
That's an acting. Yeah, that's an acting thing. It's like, I need to remember my lines. Oh yeah, emote. That kind of thing that goes on with a lot of actors.
Smiles.
Yes, and she was never gonna be cheered like she was in UFC, because like the reason people cheered her in UFC was she was breaking people's arms.
Yep. She was Mike Tyson.
Not because she was friendly. It was because she was dominant and killing people.
Beating the crap out of people.
Yeah.
She was absolutely the female version of Mike Tyson in the UFC. By the way, if anybody who's watching live has a note or a comment or a question, shoot it over and we can throw it up and talk about it. So where are we right now with some of the stuff that is on the cards? So right now, today, this is what we have for the Elimination Chamber. Roman against Sami Zayn. We have the men's Elimination Chamber for the U.S. Championship and the women's Elimination Chamber for a shot at Bianca Belair. It's the having both chamber. I said this, I think it was on We're Live, pal. I wish we would have only had one of the chambers. Like the WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble, you get your two winners and they get shots. I just prefer it to have one Royal Rumble and one Elimination Chamber. I know why they do 2 and 2, but I just feel like it takes away from the specialness of these matches. It's like I don't see an Elimination Chamber for an entire year, and then I get one, and then by the end of the show, I'm already tired of that match, and I don't want to see it again, and then it's the main event. Like
they should have moved this to November for the Survivor Series pay-per-view. I love War Games, but the Elimination Chamber being in between Rumble and Mania has always been a problem.
Yeah.
It messed me up. I mean, seriously, being out of practice, as someone who's just been a little out of practice, I completely forgot that this was part of the paper, like the paid live event season for WrestleMania.
I think also I love your point, Garrett, about the singles thing. Why not make this the tag team Elimination Chamber? Because I loved that match the one time I watched it.
Yeah, it was different.
It's interesting.
And I mean, you can tell they're like, okay, we don't really have a plan, a big plan here. We're going to just be on the backs of Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn, so we can kind of just shoot anything in here. The U.S. title, I guess it gives Seth something to do. Austin Theory, if he's going to really be with Cena, I don't know how that, because I don't think we're going to see Cena until probably the month before WrestleMania, so he'll probably not even be around for Elimination Chamber. But yeah,
it only might eliminate you from WrestleMania if you get hurt in the match.
Totally. By the way, you were talking about Charlotte, and I forgot to mention one thing. Did you see any of NXT's show from yesterday?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't catch it.
That intro was terrible.
The video with her being so much taller than everybody else.
Because you see, they're in Charlotte.
No.
I like to have Charlotte.
I definitely dug that part. I thought that was cute. But just the fact that she was bigger than everybody else, I thought it was fascinating.
And she was wearing heels, I think, too.
Yeah. It was like when they would have Stephanie on TV just so she can make everyone look small. Like that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. Yeah, that was a big time Steph power move.
Yeah. All right, so just quickly, I want to get your thoughts on the Elimination Chamber matches. We'll go through them pretty quickly. At this point, do we see Jay or somebody causing Sammy to lose and setting up the WrestleMania tag team with he and Owens against the Usos? Is that kind of what we see coming out of this? Roman wins, and then Sammy and Kevin get vengeance on the Usos. Is that what we're looking at?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I mean, it's logical, but I still don't think I still don't think they're taking advantage of
it's
how
either
hot
a post-match
Sammy got.
beatdown or heat. It's one of the two.
Yeah. I mean, I can't argue. My heart wants Sammy to get something, but my brain and knows better. knows,
Yeah.
you
No,
know?
that's why I was so bothered. I was like, they're just blatantly telling us that Sammy doesn't have a chance. They're not even trying to work us as fans.
At least get Rosenberg out there and let him say something.
Yes, this much.
Yes, Pete. Good old Pete. All right. So the U.S. title match, we got Jonah, we have Johnny Gargano, we have Austin Theory, we have Seth. Anybody have any thoughts on who these next two people are going to be? Are there matches on Raw for the next slots? I don't remember. I feel like I watched all 3 hours of Raw last week.
There is one coming up. It's not SmackDown. I think, or it's not Raw though. I think it's on SmackDown randomly.
Was it on? Oh, are those matches are on SmackDown?
Oh, okay.
I think.
Oh no, yeah, we have. It's Elias versus Montez.
That's right.
That's it. Thank you.
And it's Dawkins versus I think
Priest. Is it Priest?
Priest? Yeah, it's Priest. It's Priest.
So who comes out of this thing with this title? Because Austin Theory and John Cena is not going to be a title match.
I think it's going to be Theory and Lashley because they were setting that up with the MVP lounge.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
but then is Brock Lashley going to be? I guess it would if it's WrestleMania. Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of confused about what they do with this belt. Like the Intercontinental title, it feels prestigious because of who has it.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, it's just like being bounced around like crazy. And I don't know if there's an actual plan for it or if it's just a prop at this point.
I think they can prop up Austin Theory by somehow surviving this match. And I don't think that's possible.
Maybe salvage what some of the damage that's been done with that character. Because, I mean, he is a good, fundamentally, he's a good talent, but what they've done
right
with
now,
him
Grayson Waller is a better Austin Theory than Austin Theory. And I'm dead serious about that.
No matter how many followers he has.
We learned he's still under 30,000 Twitter followers today.
I'm glad you guys followed up.
He's at 28. The so-called social media influencer there.
So close.
All right. So one spot left. Natty got the fifth spot in the 4-way on SmackDown. Liv Morgan is there's still, we it's so funny how big her and I'm calling it big and niche at the same time. There is a fan base for Liv Morgan out there who just thinks that she should be the world champion and that the division should be booked around her. Like, I don't personally get it, but there are some Liv stands out there. Does anybody get that? Like, do you guys understand that? Like, what is it about her character that makes her, the fans just go like, I just love her. She needs to be the champ.
It's the underdog. She's never been given a chance thing, I think. In many ways.
And she's cute.
And she's cute. That also helps.
Yeah, she's very cute.
Can I say something else? I think there's a contingency backstage. There's still Raquel Rodriguez fans, and there's a chance I think she takes this one too. They could do Bianca Raquel as the new generation type match.
I would love that.
So do you think Raquel gets in if Becky doesn't get in?
Well, Raquel's in there already.
Oh yeah, she's in there. Duh.
The one I'm questioning is whether or not Asuka beats Raquel. That's the thing, that because I don't know what you do with Asuka then for Mania, even though she's always going to be. But you don't necessarily have to do anything with Asuka because she's just crazy and great and just does everything well. If you put Becky in there, that really. Look, we know it's not going to be Natty. We know it's not going to be Nikki Cross. All right, put those two aside, and then it's a crapshoot because I could see them trying to book Liv and Bianca as a next gen main event type match. I could.
I watched all of the NXT TV from when Raquel came through, and she, as a heel, I thought she had a strong presence.
Yes.
As a babyface, I understood why they wanted to turn her babyface, but it came across as when Vince wanted Kevin Nash to be his babyface
No,
champion.
Diesel is the exact 1-to-1, and I loved her pairing with Dakota as her.
Yeah,
heel.
no, like
I
that
thought
was
that
fun.
great.
It's totally fun. I just wonder if she's also miscast here as a smiling babyface.
The smiling is what's killing her.
Yeah.
But that may not be their fault. I mean, in fairness, like they may be being told to smile more. I mean,
That's what I'm thinking too.
It looks fake. I mean,
Oh.
there was that line that Bailey had. It stood out to me because it was so like gross, and it just like a reminder of how bad they are at it. The line about Bailey telling Becky that the only reason Seth married her was because he knocked her up.
And
I was like,
failure, yeah.
Stop it. It is 2023. That is like the Mean Girls shit needs to.
I went on a rant about that. I go, if there's any feud that does not need the Bechdel test, it's Bailey and Becky. All Becky has to do is look at Bailey and go, what happened to my friend?
Yeah, right. It was
okay,
but sorry.
If we're watching,
I mean, it made me think of that kind of thing.
You know who this is going to be? It might be Shotzi. Or
there
Carmella,
you go.
Or Carmella, one of those
Something
two.
like that.
Oh, well, yeah, there is a match, right? Isn't there a match?
I thought
there might be.
Didn't Natty win? Did Natty win the 4-way that was there?
Was Carmella in that match? And I watched SmackDown too. How come I don't remember this stuff?
Because it's hard.
To the internet.
Okay, so the thing that you said though, Mel, about like this is 2023. If you're Triple H and Triple H is watching your reaction, doesn't he think that's why we did it? There's heat there. But at the same time, it's a little bit go away heat for you because you're like, this is why I don't watch this stuff versus that line really pissed me off and I can't wait to see Becky kick her ass or whatever.
I just feel like even Becky's or Bailey's character as it is right now could have come up with something better than that on her own. I mean, that felt very scripted to me. And it's Bailey acting the way she is has always seemed just slightly off because it's just very unnatural feeling because she's such a natural baby face and she's just got that. And you want her to go back to hugging every time you see her in a lot of ways. It's like, she does a great job with what she's got, but it's cool, but it doesn't do that much for me.
I loved Aunt Pam when she was Sasha's sidekick.
They were great.
Yeah.
God, that was
on her own and leading it. She comes Mel nailed this. She comes off as like mustache twirling, kind of a thing.
Perfect, exactly.
That kind of thing. You're just like, stop it. I don't want to see. The Elimination Chamber qualifying match from SmackDown was Shotzi versus Shayna versus Natty versus Zelina. So we still have to do.
So we still have the
Carmella
Carmella match.
We still have the Carmella match. So I assume it's probably gonna be Carmella.
That was bad directing by me. I should have had those matches, but I just totally forgot about them.
No, that's fine.
Jeff's super good at going to the internet like that.
No, it's great. I'm just waiting for people to tell me when they listen. They're gonna be like, as they're listening. Job? 30 minutes. No. What happens is 30 minutes into the show that they're listening to that I already recorded, I'm getting like updates on stuff like, no, it's this, it's this. And I'm like, yeah, we corrected it. Don't worry. No, but then you said that, no, don't worry. By the end of it, we correct.
Listen to the whole show before giving notes. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No, I mean, it's just, you know what? I kind of like it because it just,
I do too.
They're just active listeners, right? Like they're actively listening. They're not passively listening. So it's actually kind of
Tell Jeff to stop cutting off Mel. Okay.
Oh, I've been podcasting for like 12 years. I've been getting cut off for. It's part of being a woman, man.
Don't make it sexist, please. I think Mel is probably your last person in there. They love doing that too, where it's like you come back from injury and they put you in the most dangerous match they can think of.
Yeah. I know.
Let's see if you're tough enough.
Yeah. By the way, Bailey was never a bigger baby face than when she was out there wearing the 49ers jersey, but I imagine that also made her a giant heel to some people. So she's really embracing the 49ers of late. And she's being treated like she's kind of a big deal. Like, they're putting her out on the field, and George Kittle's coming by and giving her a high five and stuff. So
I always say no one's perfect, okay? That's all there is to it. You can love people and all their imperfections.
The last 49er game I was at, which is now, I guess probably like 3 years ago now, because I haven't been in a while, but none other than Roman Reigns was ringing the bell before the game started. He's another giant 49er fan.
Sweet. I mean,
yeah, I'm still mad that they made Bailey a host of WrestleMania. That still irks at me. So that she could get clowned by the NWO and stuff, as opposed to she was on the hot streak of a lifetime, and she's out there getting thrown down by the Bellas and stuff.
Yeah,
and you're just
that was bad. That was so bad.
Ugly.
So bad. Okay, so before I do have a sort of WrestleMania memory kind of question to end the show, but let's just look at what's on the WrestleMania card.
This is not a 2-night show right here. I'm sorry.
No.
There's gonna be a lot of filler, and I'm like,
is that? I mean, that's it, and there's 2 nights.
Well, you watched Royal Rumble. It
Yeah.
felt like there was like 30 minutes between every match.
Yeah, they do a lot. There's a lot of chat.
I went to dinner when Cody came out at 30 because my brother watched it with me, and that I talk about that on my other show this week. And just my brother is not a wrestling fan.
Yeah,
who he loves Logan Paul, which is very weird. But it's like I left when Cody came out at 30, and I got back when it was like number 26 of the Women's Rumble. I was like, I felt like I missed nothing.
Yeah. You didn't, because it was the first 2 women were also the last 2 women.
Yeah.
Okay, so Roman and Cody, Rhea and Charlotte, and Bianca versus whoever this Elimination Chamber winner is. So that is what we have so far. Like I mentioned, it's supposed to be Ronda and Shayna going for the women's tag belts. And that's all that we really have right now. And so they're going to be building a lot of matches coming up, and they got the Chamber that they could also build off of. So we'll be seeing lots of stuff happen, I'm sure, in the upcoming weeks on this Road to WrestleMania. Okay, so now the last thing I wanted to ask you both is, and this is what I asked both Scotts, the 2 Scotts last week, which is, what was your first favorite like WrestleMania memory? Like, I don't know how far back you guys go. I had mentioned that, I actually go back to the very first WrestleMania, but I was still like oh, what is this stuff kind of fan back then. But Mel, do you have like an old WrestleMania moment that you remember as like a fond one?
Well, my first one is probably my first WrestleMania, because I was into it finally. I had actually sat down. My summer job through high school was as a greenskeeper, and the Golf Shop Pro was the biggest WWF fan in the world. And so he would have watch parties on Monday nights for Raw, and just invited me, and I started going and getting into it. And it was funny when you were interviewing Adam Cole the other day, when he was like, WrestleMania 15 was like my anime fan. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was my first WrestleMania that I watched with people and ordered the Dominoes and did the whole thing. And so, I mean, I think my first one was kind of my favorite one, because I actually was actively, I mean, we all pitched in. We did the classic back then where you call and you get together, and it was like, and it was the first time I'd ever had that experience. And I mean, from there, I started doing all the, my Powerade and my GameCube and my Monday Night Wars. And I mean, I am that trope. Like, but
I did resist the temptation to make a Vince Russo joke when Adam Cole was talking about WrestleMania 15. But yeah, so I didn't, but that's what, whenever someone says WrestleMania 15 to me, I just think of, like, I feel like 4 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 weeks before that show started, like, Vince Russo changed all the matches. That's what I remember from that show. All right, Jeff.
I'm a little bit older. I grew up in Crockett country, and I didn't have cable. So I saw the first 2 WrestleManias on video, and 3 was around the time when I got cable at the second house we lived in that area. And I could follow WWF after that, because it's like, well, I need more wrestling, because I'm only watching 3 Crockett shows a week. But I fondly remember WrestleMania 4 because it was the same day as Clash. So it was another invite all your friends over. We're buying lots of Little Caesars pizzas.
Yep.
And we're just going to make a day out of it. We're going to watch one and then we're going to watch the other. And parents will be like, okay, they're set. We don't need to do anything with them. But I absolutely adored when Bad News Brown ghetto blasted Bret Hart after the Battle Royal in WrestleMania 4, because I was such a huge Bad News Brown fan. I thought he was just absolutely awesome and tough, and
he was.
And that set Bret off on his babyface way then.
Yeah.
But it was just it's like, oh, there's two heels and they're gonna be, oh, this is great. And then Bret wins, but Bad News Brown comes in, just ghetto blasters him. I just loved that move. I was like, yes, the back brain kick. Let's do it, because I can do it on my Nintendo. With Fighter Hayabusa,
Exactly.
Nice.
That was my first favorite WrestleMania moment. Yeah.
Now, have you guys been to a live WrestleMania? Because
I
know they were in Detroit for 23. Was it 23? When? Well, what WrestleMania would you have gone? Or did you
went
go to Seattle?
I went to WrestleMania 19 in Seattle because I lived there at the time, and also went to WrestleMania 35 a couple years ago before the world shut down. So in 2019, because we were my friends and I all met up in New York to go to the ROH, the Supercard of Honor. And it was at the Meadowlands. So, I'm sorry, whatever they call it now, MetLife Stadium.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, there'll be tickets available. So we all sort of assumed we were going to go, but we didn't know. But we did. We got up the next morning and we got on the train and we went out there and we went.
And then it rained on you.
Escape from WrestleMania 35 is a story for a whole other podcast. It made for a great story, but I'm glad that I'm here to tell it, as many people had the Escape from WrestleMania 35 experience. But also I got to see Kofi win against one of my favorite Bryan Danielsons. He was the fickle Bryan Danielson. So he had the 100% GMO free vegan belt. One of my favorite belts ever.
But 19 was a really good WrestleMania, so that's cool to be there live.
Yeah, there was Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin bled all over each other, even though they don't do bloody self-mutilation.
Jeff, what about you? Live WrestleManias?
I didn't start going to Manias until I was older, and I was actually part of the Empire. My first one was that Dallas one where one of the buses didn't show up, and to take us back, and I could hear
that was a long day.
Yeah, I could hear.
Yeah, you were sitting right behind me.
Yeah, I could hear my podcast on a truck. It's like, oh, I'd be on that right now. And then I went to New Orleans, and I went to Orlando. And then I skipped New York because I don't like New York City at all. I used to live there. And then I went to New Orleans and watched with a AEW vice president of all things.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. Mookie and I were sitting together for that Mania, which was kind of cool. I don't think I'm going to go to the one in LA unless another site I sometimes go for has like a luxury box, and I'll sit there. But
that would be cool.
The trip to SoFi is a bit much for me, but also I don't like the WrestleMania live experience. I think it's a much better television product. I always end up behind a fan who thinks he's a wrestler and he's cutting promos and it's a jack dude with a lot of tattoos and fake belts trying to start fights with people. I'm just like, dude, I'm just trying to watch this show.
I've had that happen. We've had 3 fights. Every big show I think I've been to, I've seen they removed people from where we were sitting at Forbidden Door. We saw the Enzo Amore Morrissey fight at the ROH.
I've been to a Bola Night 3 and WrestleMania feels long. Okay.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay.
It
does feel long when you're there. But it's worth going once. You should go once. Is what I would tell everyone.
I agree. And it was an experience once. I loved that Dallas show. I loved Orlando. I loved going, but it's like after hour 4 and you're just looking at the watch going, how much more do I have? 2 nights? I don't know. Maybe it's better. Maybe it's better being split, but it turns out they've just been doing 2 nights of like 8-hour shows. And you're like, what the hell?
It's too much.
Yeah, I that 32 was a long night, and I was a little bit like, okay, maybe I shouldn't go. That's actually the last one that I
Is
went
32
to.
the one in Jerry World that we went
Yeah,
to?
that
Okay.
was the one.
Yeah, and the snack bar wasn't working. I remember there was almost a riot down where we were sitting.
Forever to get in, like the
Yeah.
electronic doors weren't letting us in or whatever
Yeah,
that
and it
was.
Oh, their super high-tech stadium wasn't
Yeah,
working.
the pre-show had already started by the time we got in there.
Yeah.
That was the weird thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So my first WrestleMania would have been 26. It was in Arizona. Both of my kids were, I would say, just out of their peak of wrestling. They still liked it. They still knew the characters, unlike today where they don't really know most of them anymore. But 26. So what we did is we flew out to Phoenix, got a rent-a-car, and then we actually went to spring training, the Giants spring training game. So that's the year that they then won the World Series. So I'm going to do that again this year and see if that helps. Maybe brings them a little bit of good luck. But then, so we went and we got the whatever the WrestleMania hotel was that year. So we got like a special autograph session. And my favorite story that I've told on a couple different podcasts is, so my youngest he would have been 10, and he was a giant Jeff Hardy fan. Like that was his favorite wrestler. So we're in line, and I think the autograph session was CM Punk and Luke Gallows. So Luke Gallows is just like yapping it up with everybody, and he's kind of like making it seem like if the kids didn't say that he was their favorite wrestler, like he was gonna like tease them or something. So as we're getting closer to the line, he's asking every kid who their favorite wrestler is. We get to the front, and he asks my youngest, like, who's your favorite wrestler? And he just freezes. I was like, dude, like, of all the times to freeze, like, we're getting the autographs here. Rey Mysterio was also there, I think. And so then after we get the autographs, we come back. I was like, dude, what happened? Like, why didn't you say anything? He's like, well, I didn't want to hurt his feelings. And I was like, Luke Gallows did not expect anyone to say Luke Gallows was their favorite wrestler. He wasn't going to get his feelings hurt at all. But he was just like, yeah, I just didn't want to hurt his feelings and say it was Jeff Hardy. So that was
I do regret not going to the Santa Clara Mania when I had driven up. I drove up there for the NXT show.
Yeah, that was fun.
Which was a blast. That first one where they were testing whether or not they wanted to go through with, takeovers and
Charlotte and Sasha, right?
Charlotte and Sasha's. Kevin Owens and Sammy, I think, were there. I think they were signed right at that time. I don't know.
Yeah, they did something. It was the main event. I just talked to Dave about this. The main event was Finn against Pac.
Yes.
Neville, he would have been right.
He would have been Neville back then.
Adrian Neville. He had his first name.
Excuse me, pardon me.
So
that wasn't
a mansplain thing. Trust me. I did.
So that day, that day was also ROH.
Yeah, ROH and the bus
in
got
Redwood
lost.
City. So it was ROH in Redwood City. I think it was a Samoa Joe and Jay Briscoe.
Yeah.
In the main event. And then once that show ended, we had to shoot south to downtown San Jose to the San Jose State Event Center. And I think we showed up, I don't know, it was probably like half an hour into the show or whatever, but that NXT show was a blast.
Yeah, that was a great time.
Back when takeovers, it was the kickoff of the best era of takeovers.
It was like the pre-takeover.
Yeah, pre-takeover. They weren't even thinking about it. They just wanted to try this show because it was starting to get so much buzz. And I bought an NXT shirt that night.
Yeah, you were so
like,
happy.
oh, let's go with the upstart. And you just realized, you dummy, you bought a WWE shirt with NXT.
And I mean, the legend goes that Vince was there in person to see Charlotte and Sasha. Now that is what won him over.
Yeah, you could see from our seats, you could see Stephanie, Vince, and Triple H sitting right by a curtain there, and they were just watching the entire time. They were listening to the reactions, and you could just see a couple times where they turn and go, wow, that's a big reaction type of a thing.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Vince didn't just walk out of there and be like, I don't get it.
Yeah, that was a good show. That was women to be at. Yeah. All right. So that is it for this episode. I really appreciate both of you Jeff, you keep hinting at all of these other shows. Mention them. Mention all the ones that you're doing.
Well, I do the Dynamite Show on Fight Game. I love doing that with Paul Fontaine and just a thorough deconstruction of that. If you're not part of the Patreon, please go join. I do a show called Shake Them Ropes over on Voices of Wrestling. Myself and Chris Novembrino kind of do a lighthearted, snarky take on everything stateside wrestling for the week. News, AEW, WWE, sometimes New Japan or whatever we feel like watching with old stuff. And then occasionally I am still on the bench. I am the 12th man for Fightful. I did Mania last year. They may draft me for that because I'm the only one not going.
Yeah,
and I live in the city.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the Fightful, they get a good roster of folks doing stuff for them. So really good stuff. All right, Mel, you recorded today, obviously, but talk about Powerbombshells a little bit.
Yep, we're at Powerbombshells. It's me and my co-host Sam, and we got a little buff on our bio. We had someone say that we are not your typical broads talking about not your typical wrestling. So we added that to our bio. So shout out to Brad for that new little Twitter bio that we added in. It fits in there with everything, so it's perfect. But we like to say that we're two broads just talking about the wrestling that we watch, and we are at Powerbombshells everywhere, and you'll see our cute little bombshells that were designed by a good friend of mine, and we really do. I mean, we don't talk much WWE unless Vince inserts himself in the conversation, which happens on occasion. But it was actually fun for me. Yeah,
talking about.
Yeah, sorry about it. Yeah, and it was fun to actually talk WWE with Jeff because I think we've talked just about every other kind of wrestling before, but I don't think we've ever talked WWE before.
Yeah, you guys subbed for Paul on the Dynamite Show.
Yeah. We Big time AEW, lots of New Japan. I watched the New Beginnings, and then I signed up for Wrestling Universe because I needed more wrestling in my life.
But once WrestleMania comes around, they have so many good shoulder shows that week. Yeah. We're gonna cover a lot of that on this as well because I was
gonna say that to you, Garrett. Is that Sam and I were chatting real quick today, and we were talking about using the shorts for her. Sam especially embarks on watching much of the Collective.
Yeah.
And we thought that it would be fun instead of trying to do a 16-hour show that we have. So you might see us a little bit. Her doing a little check-ins with her daily show update.
Yeah, no, that would be
cool. They've booked the Globe. They've booked the Armenian Cultural Arts Center.
Oh,
that's where GCW is going to be, right? What
it's GCW that runs the Collective, and it's a conglomerate of many. They got Effie's Big Gay Brunch, Jerry Janela's Spring Break,
the Bloodsport stuff.
Just the Collective, the Bloodsport show that I'm absolutely watching because Ibushi is wrestling.
I will say, leave yourself some time if you're coming live. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, I know.
Traffic is traffic.
We're not coming live.
I can't imagine it's going to be easy to get around that.
Oh, LA is
the other reason why I can't go anyways because it's my wife's birthday every WrestleMania weekend.
Lucky.
But like in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh gosh, I think I'd be so frustrated trying to get around that place. So
all right, traffic.
All right, so next week we are going to do this show on Saturday because I know everyone's going to watch Super Bowl on Sunday. So Jeremy Feinstone and Paul Fontaine, Jeff's co-host there, are going to join me on Saturday. So we'll throw the live link up on Saturday. One other thing is for tomorrow. So it's actually Tuesday. I'm bringing back the old Observe This live stream brand because I've been doing a lot of stuff for Fight Game where I do interviews of media folks. I'm going to pick that up. But I'm going to do it on our channel because it kind of gets lost in the sea of all the content that's on F4W's channel. So I'm going to do it for this channel. Audio will be on the Fight Game podcast still, though, with LaRocca. So one of LaRocca's friends, who's a local media or local radio guy here in the Bay Area, he gets a lot of WWE folks on his show for the radio station. So he also got Tony Khan. His name is Baby Huey. He's on the local radio station. So I'm going to interview him on Tuesday. I'll add that live feed as well. We'll see how many Baby Huey fans there are out there locally who want to come see me talk to him. So All right, we're done here. Thank you to you both. I really appreciated it. Lots of fun. Who knew that we could do a whole hour and 15 just talking about stuff relating to WrestleMania? We're still many weeks out, but only like not even like less than 2 months from WrestleMania. So that's actually kind of close. All right. So for Mel and Jeff, I am Double G. We'll see you when we see you. Peace out.